How do such warriors drop the ball so badly when it comes to their own life? Hi, y'all. I'm Brita, and I'm out here at the beach this beautiful day to talk about the what I have observed in myself and specifically in other attorneys. And, attorneys, we have so much courage when it comes to our clients. We are warriors. Even if you're a transaction attorney, most of us have no trouble. We might be nervous, but we have no trouble going in, fighting the good fight, advocating for our clients, and doing a great job protecting their interests. And we feel the fear and we do it anyway because it's our job. And yet, when it comes to our own life and our own practice, so many times we turn into scared little rabbits that run away. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to make it clear, I'm right there with you. I used to live this way and I still have issues with it, but I am 1,000 times better than what I used to, how I used to operate. And I get that our profession is a fear-based profession. I totally understand that. I don't know if more cautious people are drawn to the law or if the law just beats it into us that we need to be scared of everything. We need to be cautious of everything. We need to have this perfectionism. We don't make a move until everything is perfect, which there is no such thing. I'm not sure, or maybe it's a combination. But what I do know is I have seen it over and over and over again that we as attorneys have taken fear-based thinking and fear-based belief and fear-based decisions to the extreme, and it's really hurting us. It is destroying us. So here's what I mean. Just one example. I'll give some others throughout. I had a friend who was a high executive in a Fortune 50 company. Okay? High up. They had in-house counsel, and they were getting ready to fire this attorney who was an excellent attorney as far as the legal goes, but she kept jeopardizing deals because she was being overly cautious. She was being overly careful. She was overthinking it. She was letting fear lead. Instead of saying, how can we? She was saying, I don't know. And it was jeopardizing and killing deals. A lot of times you don't have that time. You have to make a gut decision. And if there's not a problem, there's not a problem. Well, she was creating problems. She was costing her client, her company, millions and millions of dollars and jeopardizing even more in an effort to be cautious and save them. We'll go through more and more examples. But in your own life, it can be a total disaster. Here's the difference. Fear can be a great thing. Fear can be a wonderful, necessary protector. When it's coming from our instinct, when it's coming from below, when it's coming from our gut, not our head. When it's coming from our head, we're manufacturing it. We are seeing a tiger behind that bush, and that bush is in Alaska. There ain't tigers in Alaska. You don't need to worry about a tiger behind a bush. You might need to worry about a polar bear, but we're manufacturing it when it's coming from our head. When it's coming from our gut, you feel it. And you move instinctively. You start to get on that elevator and you're like, I'm not getting on that elevator with that person. Now, sometimes we override that, which is a video for a different day and very dangerous. But fear coming from our gut is beautiful. That is what keeps us alive when we don't override it. But fear coming from our head, when we're manufacturing it is so, so dangerous, because then we're actually creating these self-fulfilling prophecies. We're creating the thing that we are scared of. And I see this, oh my gosh, I see this so many times with attorneys in their own practice. Flat fees is a perfect example. We're not going to talk about flat fees on this channel, but just a side note. Flat fees is a perfect example. Attorneys will be interested. They like the idea. They see it working for all of these other attorneys. Like, oh, okay, well, it's working for that attorney. Maybe it could work for me. Well, why wouldn't it work for you? Why wouldn't it? But they get in, and then fear starts. They start manufacturing the fear. Oh, I could never charge that. It doesn't matter that that's what it costs. It doesn't matter that if you're doing a divorce, at the end of the day, it's going to be $35,000 or whatever. Oh, my clients would never pay that. Well, they're paying that now. What are you talking about? They're just knowing it ahead of time. Oh, and by the way, have you tried? No. I have a perfect example. A old client of mine, her husband posted on Facebook the other day, just out of the blue, about the experience of working with me and their experience, where in short, he went to work for his wife to try and get control of the office because she was overworking and they were struggling financially. And he thought he could free up some hours of hers. Well, that didn't work. And he saw my book, he read it immediately, she read it immediately, and they implemented it immediately. And the first case that they had, they talked about it, and she said, you know, if this was hourly, literally it would be like $300-400. And he's like, we're charging $7,500. Let's charge $7,500. And what was her first response? Her first response was in her head, I could never charge that. Nobody would ever pay that. They tried it. They had the courage to try it. And guess what happened? Client had no problem paying it. By the way, looking back at that fact scenario, it was on a multi-million-dollar contract. $7,500 was peanuts. If they could go back and do it again, they probably should have charged $25,000, $35,000. Because of the value to the client, because of their liability, because of all of the other reasons. Go read The Happier Attorney. My point is that thankfully, Ashley, my client, overrode that brain fear and just tried it. And look at what happened. What a difference to her practice and her life and her clients when she charged appropriately for the matter. That means fewer clients. That means better work product. That means more attention to her clients. Her clients also perceive her work to be better given the higher price. Again, we're not going to go into flat fees. Go read The Happier Attorney. The flip side of that, I just had this very morning, I just had an issue with another firm that is trying flat fees, but not full in, not 100%. They're still letting fear get to them. They're still listening and believing the stories that they're telling themselves. And their clients are pissed. Work's not getting out on time. Work's not getting out according to deadlines. Why? Because they have too much work. Why do they have too much work? Because they're not charging enough. And that means you have to bring in more clients and more clients and more clients. There is a huge price to pay, a tremendous price to pay when you let fear lead. I've even had clients, attorneys, make up ethics rules. Make them up. Well, I don't know if we can do that. Well, is there an ethics rule or an opinion that says you can't? Well, no. That's what the rules are for. They tell you what you can't do. And if there's not a rule, then you can do it. Because clearly believe me, the bar has thought about everything that can happen. We actually make it up. And then we put we create this prison around us. We do this in so many aspects of our lives. Oh, fear is just ruining things. Oh, I'm scared to take that risk. Why? Oh, well, I have the money, but then I'll have to go into savings. Wasn't that what savings is for? Yeah, but what if there's an emergency later on? Okay, well, I bet you can handle that later on. But right now, you're jeopardizing an opportunity today because of what you think may happen in the future, the likelihood of which probably won't happen anyway. Most of the time, all the time actually, when our brain is manufacturing fear, it's false. It's, false beliefs appearing true, or whatever that, false evidence appearing real. That's what it is. And it's true. I used to live in absolute survival mode. Absolute anxiety attacks. I was diagnosed with a general anxiety disorder. I used to live there. And I actually believed that the more that I worried, then the more seriously I took it in some way. Like I'd be more disciplined if I worried about it. And it really started when I moved out on my own. And I thought I had things to worry about. I was a single mom. I'm 19. I've got a child, 5-year-old. I'm waiting tables, trying to get through school. Like, there was no safety net. There was no savings. There was no child support. There was no extra. It was me. So yeah, did I have things to be concerned about? Sure. Did any of the things that I was so concerned about ever happen? No. I was never late on rent, ever. Ever. I was never late on bills. Always had food in the fridge. Always had food in the pantry. Always had gas. All of the things I was so scared of didn't happen. And here's the price that I paid for that. It was so much energy that was wasted. So much energy that was wasted. It also created some self-fulfilling prophecies with some scarcity mindset. And it made me miserable. It made me really miserable. It also made me miserable to be around. It really interfered with my relationships with others, most importantly, my son. And then I passed that off on him, which, if there's no other reason to do deep personal development work, it's that. It's so that your kids don't have to do this work to repair from you. I will tell you, the fear mindset, the constant fear, the constant overcomplicating, overthinking, over-perfectioning, it's a great place for people to hide, though. It is a great, great place for people to hide. Hide, what are you talking about? Hide from feeling uncomfortable, hide from having to take risks, hide from feeling uncomfortable feelings. And so many people literally would rather stay where they are, even if it means they're not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. They're not living where they're supposed to be living. They're not married to who they're supposed to be married to. They are not parenting the way they're supposed to parent. They're not happy. They would much rather live there and be comfortable than feel the discomfort of moving to something else and addressing those issues. And that's really sad to me, because I've been in both places. I've been in that place and I've been across after doing this work, and I can tell you, there's no comparison. I wouldn't go back to who I was years ago for any amount of money in the world. Any amount of chocolate, any amount of bread and butter. Like, you could not offer me anything. I would literally rather be homeless for the rest of my life, being who I am today, than go back there for any amount of money. I mean, that's probably one of the best analogies I can bring. You feel so much better over here. What also happens when you're advocating for yourself, when you're protecting your own interests like you would a client, when you are feeling the uncomfortable and you're doing it anyway, just like you would a client, is the opportunities start increasing. You start seeing them more. The chances for things to go sideways diminish, because ultimately your security isn't the money that you have in the bank. It's not your credit score. It's not your bar number. It's you and your ability to do what you need to do to make money that you need to make, which you've already proven yourself umpteen dozen times. So what if you thought of how you advocate for a client, especially those who don't love litigation? Okay, well, if you need to go into court, you go and you do your job, even when you feel like throwing up before you walk in there. Why? Because it's your job and a lot's on the line. So you do it. That feeling, or standing up to opposing counsel who's being an ass, that bully across the case, you have no problem standing up to them, I hope. Because if you do, maybe this isn't the profession. That same feeling that, oh, this feels horrible, but by golly, I'm going to do it. What if you had that same energy, and it's energy, for yourself, for protecting yourself, for advocating for yourself? You know, I look at my clients with kids, and we go through some of these exercises. Okay, how much money do you spend a year on your kids', say, extracurricular activities? Oh, and then I get the moans and the eye rolls. Look, I've had 3 kids. I know. Oh my gosh, right? We have a family member of my son's who just had to pay $350 for a bat for his kid. His kid's not like going anywhere with baseball. That was the required bat, $350. So you have no problem spending that money on your kid. Why? Are they ever going to be professional ball players? No. They probably ever even going to get a scholarship? No. Why do you do it? Because it's good for them. It helps their development. It makes them happy. It provides exercise, all of the things. If someone was bullying your kid, would you have any problem putting a stop to that? No, I hope not. That same energy, that I'm willing to do this. It might be uncomfortable. I might not like it. I might not want to spend this money, but I'm going to. That same energy, when you start directing it to you, ooh, that's when magic starts. That's when magic starts. If you had a client who came to you, let's say, with an employment matter, and they had an employee that was just clearly running roughshod over this client, and there wasn't any actual legal issue. All the client needed to do was stand up to this employee. And yet this employer was like, this client is, the employee is, let's say stealing from them, or not doing their job, i.e. stealing from them, causing morale issues with the other employees, making good employees go away, all of the things, what would you tell that client? You'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is crazy. Get rid of the bad seed. Stand up for yourself. This is harming your businesses. And yet we turn around and we have the bad employee as well. How many times do you see a friend who's in a bad marriage, a bad relationship, and you're like, what are you doing? This is as clear as day. And yet, if a mirror was held up to ours, we'd be like, oh, oh, oh. What I am suggesting is that fear of whatever, what if it's wrong? What if the thing that you are scared of, if I do this, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. What if you're wrong? What if none of those horrible things would happen? Or if one or two of them did, you could handle it. What is going along with that story costing your life? It's costing you living in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing and who you're supposed to be. And it's costing those around you as well. And what are you getting out of it? Continuing to believe the story. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything uncomfortable. You don't have to have courage. At least be honest about it with yourself. But I would encourage you, at least question the stories that you continue to tell yourself. My bet, based on my own life and all of my clients, is that they're wrong. They're false. They're just stories in your head. They're just stories in your head. Be brave. Be fearless. It's the only way to do it. Doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do it anyway. Because what's on the other side is worth feeling some fear. Treat yourself like a client. Advocate for yourself. Protect yourself. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And if this interests you, if you're like, oh, this sparks some things, I do a workshop the second Saturday of every month. It's not just for attorneys, it's for any professionals. It's 3 hours long. You can get more information in the description. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Bye.